Welcome to a deep dive into the life of Musab ibn Umair. Um, we're going back to the very beginnings of Islam, a
Okay.
time of, radical change and intense personal struggles in Mecca.
hmm
And you're about to meet someone who, well, he had it all out and gave it all up to follow a new path.
It's a story that I think really challenges our assumptions about faith.
Right.
We often hear of people turning to religion, after hardship, but Musab's journey flips that script entirely.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's set the scene. Imagine Mecca, a bustling center of trade full of tribal rivalries, and right in the middle of it all is Musab ibn Umair, basically the richest young man in the entire city. What kind of wealth are we talking about here?
Imagine inheriting half the city's wealth from your father and being an only child completely doted on by his mother.
Wow.
We're not just talking well off here. He was on another level. Custom-tailored clothes were the norm for him. Even his shoes were bespoke.
Okay, so we're picturing a life of extreme luxury,
Yeah.
but was Musab just some spoiled brat?
Actually, that's what makes his story so compelling. The sources emphasize his good character even before Islam. He wasn't arrogant despite his privilege.
Okay,
So his later sacrifices weren't just a reaction to losing things. There was a deeper seeking of truth within him.
I see. So along comes Islam, and Musab hears the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, speaking about paradise and hellfire, and the profound changes this new faith called for. I'm picturing this incredible contrast, going from a life of luxury to the humble setting of Darul Arqam, the house where these early Muslims were meeting in secret.
And this contrast seems to have struck Musab deeply. He's immediately captivated by what he hears. The sources say he converts right then and there, but he's got a huge problem,
Yeah.
his mother. He knows he has to keep his Islam a secret, at least for now.
So how does that secret get out? And how does his mother react when she finds out her son, the center of her world, has embraced this new faith?
It's a heartbreaking scene. She's devastated. Can't bring herself to hit him, but she imprisons him in his own home, hoping to break his resolve. Think about this for a second. This woman who showered him with every luxury imaginable is now willing to lock him away to stop him from following this new path.
Wow, that's intense. It really speaks to the fear and uncertainty surrounding Islam at the time,
Yeah.
even for those who loved the people embracing it.
Yeah.
But Musab, he doesn't waver.
No, he stays firm. He's patient, waiting for an opportunity, and that opportunity comes with the first migration to Abyssinia, modern-day Ethiopia.
Right.
He escapes his confinement and joins those early Muslims seeking refuge across the sea.
Okay, so Musab's in Abyssinia,
Mm.
and this is where he marries Hamna bint Josh, the sister of one of the Prophet's future wives.
Right.
He's building a new life, but then he hears a rumor.
A rumor that changes everything.
Uh-oh.
Word reaches him that the people of Mecca have finally accepted Islam. It seems impossible, but the hope is powerful. Musab decides to return to see for himself if this new reality is true.
Now, having seen Musab's privileged beginnings and his dramatic escape, let's explore what happens when he returns to Mecca, a city still caught in the grip of old ways. It's a moment that really highlights the personal cost of his choices. What awaits him is a confrontation with his mother, far more intense than the one before.
His mother, desperate to bring him back to the life she knew, makes him an incredible offer. She said she'll restore his wealth, his status, everything if he just renounces Islam.
That's a powerful moment, right? This isn't just a mother asking her son to reconsider. It's a clash between two worlds, two ways of life.
And it forces Musab to articulate what this new faith truly means to him. The sources quote him saying, "You, my mother, brought me out of your womb into this world, and Allah, through him the Prophet, brought me from darkness to light."
Wow.
He's saying his faith is more fundamental to his identity than even his relationship with his mother.
So how does his mother react to this? Does she finally accept his decision?
Sadly, no, she's heartbroken. In a final act of desperation, she disowns him and threatens to take away his inheritance. But Musab holds firm, choosing faith over everything he's ever known. He walks away from wealth, from status, from family.
What a powerful statement about the depth of his conviction. It makes you wonder, what are you willing to sacrifice for what you believe in?
This act of defiance against his mother foreshadows the many sacrifices Musab would make throughout his life, always putting his faith and his mission above personal comfort or gain.
And that brings us to a pivotal moment in Musab's story, a moment that shifts his role from follower to leader.
Okay.
The Prophet sends him on a mission to Yathrib, a city that would later become known as Medina.
And it's not just any mission. Musab is being sent as Islam's first ambassador. Medina was open to the message of Islam, but they needed guidance. They needed someone to teach them, to lead them.
So this former Meccan fashion icon who once set trends with his bespoke clothes and signature scent is now traveling with a small group of converts carrying a message of radical change to a new city.
And Think about this. He's going in with practically nothing, having lost his wealth, his status, everything. But he seems to have found a new kind of richness, a richness of purpose and conviction.
So he arrives in Medina, and he immediately encounters Usaid ibn Hudayr, one of the most powerful figures in this city.
Yeah.
And Usaid is, well, let's just say he's not exactly welcoming.
He confronts Musab with a spear in hand, demanding to know what he's teaching his people. It's a tense moment, a clash between old ways and new ideas.
Right.
He'd have easily turned violent.
Yeah.
But Musab, even in this situation, demonstrates his diplomatic skills. He disarms Usaid not with force, but with calm reasoning and a simple request. He says, look, I'll leave if you want, but wouldn't it be better to just hear me out first?
It's a risky move.
It's a risky move, but it works. Usaid, intrigued, puts down his spear and agrees to listen. Musab recites verses from the Quran, explains the basic tenets of Islam, and something shifts in Usaid. He's drawn in by the message, by Musab's sincerity and conviction.
So much so that he asks how to convert on the spot.
He goes home, performs ritual ablution, puts on his finest clothes, and returns to Musab ready to embrace Islam.
Wow.
It's an incredible transformation, and it's just the beginning.
Right.
Usaid, now a believer, becomes Musab's ally, helping him to navigate the complex social dynamics of Medina. He tells Musab about another influential figure, Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, who he thinks will be receptive to the message.
And they go to Sa'd, and guess what happens?
It's the same thing.
Oh my God.
Sa'd listens to Musab, is captivated by the message, and converts to Islam. And he brings with him another powerful leader, Sa'd ibn Ubadah. It's a domino effect. This young man, who left Mecca with practically nothing, is now at the heart of a growing Muslim community in Medina.
This is all happening in just 1 year. And
Yeah.
by the next, Hajj Musab is back in Mecca, leading a delegation of over 70 converts from Medina.
Imagine the Prophet's reaction when he sees this large group of believers, all thanks to Musab's efforts. He's effectively become the imam of the Medinan Muslims, teaching them the Quran, guiding their practice, and fostering within them a deep love for the Prophet.
It's a remarkable transformation. He's gone from the riches of Mecca to a life of simplicity and service. But he seems to have found a deep contentment. And it's this contentment that shines through in a poignant story from the sources. The Prophet sees Musab one day, and he's struck by what he sees.
Musab was wearing a simple, patched-up garment. This is the man who used to set fashion trends in Mecca.
Yeah.
And now he possesses only the bare necessities. It really makes you think about what's truly important, doesn't it?
It's a stark contrast to his former life. And yet, the sources say he was completely content. It seems he found a richness in his faith, a richness that went beyond material possessions.
The Prophet, reflecting on Musab's transformation, remarks, look at how he used to be in Mecca, and look at him now.
Right.
He's not criticizing, but acknowledging the profound shift in priorities.
Right.
The embrace of a life centered on faith and service.
So we see this incredible shift in Musab's life from riches to rags, but his commitment to his faith never wavers. And this brings us to another fascinating aspect of Musab's story, his piety, his dedication to a life of worship.
Even amidst the hardship and uncertainty of those early days, Musab found solace and strength in his connection with Allah. He was a devoted student of the Prophet, always eager to learn, memorizing the Quran and leading others in prayer. What's fascinating here is that his piety wasn't just personal, it became a model for the growing community in Medina.
You mentioned that Musab's piety wasn't just personal. Can you elaborate on that? How did his personal devotion translate into something that impacted the community around him?
Think about the impact of his example.
Okay.
Here's a man who once had everything this world could offer, and now he's choosing a life of simplicity focused on worship and service. It's a powerful message, especially for those new to Islam. It shows that true fulfillment comes not from material wealth, but from something deeper, something that connects you to a higher purpose.
That makes a lot of sense. So Musab's living a life of simple devotion, teaching and guiding the Muslims in Medina. But then comes a pivotal moment, the Battle of Uhud. Can you set the stage for us? Why was this battle so significant?
The Battle of Uhud was a key event in early Islamic history. It was a time of great tension between the Muslims in Medina and the Quraysh tribe in Mecca. The Muslims had faced a setback and the stakes were incredibly high.
And in this moment of crisis, Musab is chosen as the flag bearer for the Muslim army. What was the significance of this role back then? It seems like more than just waving a flag.
You're absolutely right. The flag bearer was much more than just a visual symbol. They were a rallying point for the troops, representing the heart of the army's resilience and determination. They were a target for the enemy and often the first line of defense.
Knowing this, it makes Musab's actions in this battle even more incredible.
He knew the danger, but he didn't hesitate. The sources describe him fighting with extraordinary courage, drawing enemy attention away from the prophet to protect him even after he lost both his hands.
He lost both his hands, and yet he kept fighting.
He refused to let go of the flag. He
I-
held it aloft even as he was struck, repeatedly embodying that spirit of resilience, of unwavering faith. He eventually fell with over 70 wounds on his body, a testament to his bravery and sacrifice.
It's a scene of both tragedy and heroism, and it's made even more poignant by the prophet's reaction to Musab's death.
The prophet was overcome with grief. He couldn't even fully cover Musab's body with a shroud, a poignant reminder of the poverty he embraced for his faith.
It's a powerful image, and it really speaks to the depth of the bond between them.
The prophet, mourning Musab, declared, "He is amongst the believers who were truthful to their covenant with Allah." He urged Muslims to visit the martyrs of Uhud, including Musab, and to offer them salutations. It's a tradition that continues to this day.
It's incredible to think that even in death, Musab's impact continued to ripple outwards.
Absolutely. We have accounts of his widow Hamna receiving the news of his death with remarkable strength, saying, "May Allah have mercy on him and forgive him."
Right.
And we see how other early Muslims, even those who achieved great success in this world, looked back at Musab's sacrifice with a sense of awe.
Could you give us an example of that?
Khabab ibn al-Arat, who was tortured mercilessly in Mecca, but later found peace and prosperity in Medina, would often look at his comfortable life and say, "Musab was better than me, and he didn't even have a shroud to cover his entire body." It's a powerful statement about the different ways we measure success and fulfillment.
It makes you wonder, what do they see in Musab's sacrifice that transcended any worldly achievement? What was it about his life that resonated so deeply with them?
I think it was his unwavering commitment to something bigger than himself. He wasn't seeking wealth, power, or fame. He was seeking truth, and he was willing to give up everything for it. He lived his values even when it was hard, even when it cost him everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes his story so compelling, so inspiring.
So we've seen Musab's journey from a life of privilege to a life of sacrifice and service. But his story isn't just about his individual journey, right? It's about the ripple effects of his actions, the way he inspired others and the community he helped to build.
You're right. His conversion and his actions had a profound impact on those around him. Think about it. He inspired Usaid, who then inspired Saad, and so on. It's a chain reaction of faith and conviction that led to the establishment of a thriving Muslim community in Medina.
It's amazing how one person's actions can have such a wide-reaching impact.
And it wasn't just about numbers. It was about the quality of those conversions, the depth of understanding and commitment. Remember how impressed the prophet was when he saw that delegation of over 70 Medinan converts at the next Hajj?
Yeah.
It wasn't just the quantity. It was the fact that they were already well-versed in Islam, their hearts already filled with love for the prophet.
That's a testament to Musab's teaching, his ability to not just convey information, but to ignite a passion for faith within those he met. But it wasn't always easy, right? He faced challenges and setbacks along the way, including within his own family.
Absolutely. One of the most striking aspects of his story is the contrast between his relationship with his mother and his relationship with his half-brother Mansur. While his mother remained opposed to Islam, Mansur embraced the faith and became a close companion, even migrating to Abyssinia and Medina with him.
So even within the same family, we see the divergent paths. People took the different responses to the message of Islam. It's a reminder that faith is a deeply personal journey, and it's not always a straightforward one.
Exactly. And then there's the story of his other half-brother Abu Yazid, who initially opposed Islam and even fought against the Muslims at the Battle of Badr.
Wait, so Musab fought against his own brother in battle? That must have been incredibly difficult.
It was a testament to the complex realities of those times. When Abu Yazid was captured during the Battle of Badr, Musab intervened to ensure his safety, even though they were on opposing sides. There's an anecdote where Musab tells the person guarding Abu Yazid to tie him up securely because their mother would pay a hefty ransom for him.
It sounds like he was still looking out for his brother despite their differences.
But what's really fascinating is Abu Yazid's reaction. He asks Musab, "What are you saying about me? You think I'm just some bargaining chip for our mother?" And Musab replies, "He's my brother, not you."
Wow, that's a powerful statement. It shows that for Musab, the bonds of faith had superseded the bonds of blood. He considered those who shared his beliefs to be his true family.
It highlights the profound shift in allegiances that Islam brought about. It redefined family and community, placing loyalty to Allah and the Prophet above all else.
So even amidst all the external conflict, we see this internal struggle within Musab's own family, reflecting the wider societal shifts happening around them. It's a reminder that even in the face of opposition, there's always hope for change and reconciliation. And speaking of change, Abu Yazid eventually did convert to Islam, but not until much later at the time of the conquest of Mecca.
It's interesting how his journey reflects a broader pattern in those early days. Many people who initially resisted Islam eventually came to embrace it sometimes, through witnessing the transformative power of the faith in the lives of those around them.
It's a reminder that transformation isn't always immediate. It can be a gradual process, a journey of discovery and understanding.
And it speaks to the power of Musab's example. Even though he didn't directly convert his half-brother at that moment, his unwavering faith in his actions likely played a role in Abu Yazid's eventual acceptance of Islam.
It's amazing to think about the long-lasting impact of his life, even on those who initially opposed him. But let's shift our focus back to Musab for a moment. We've seen his incredible journey, his sacrifices, his impact on others. But what can we as listeners today take away from his story? What are the enduring lessons we can learn from a life lived so long ago?
I think one of the key takeaways is the power of conviction. Musab believed in something so deeply that he was willing to sacrifice everything for it: his wealth, his status, even his family ties. And it wasn't just a blind faith. He was a student always seeking knowledge, trying to understand the depths of his beliefs.
It wasn't just about saying the right words. It was about embodying his faith in every aspect of his life.
Exactly. He embraced a life of simplicity and service, finding contentment in his devotion to Allah. He didn't leave behind grand pronouncements or recorded sayings, but his actions spoke volumes.
His life was his testament.
And I think that's a powerful message for us today. It's not always about what we say, it's about how we live, the choices we make, and the impact we have on the world around us.
So it's not just about religious belief. It's about living a life of purpose, of aligning our actions with our values, whatever those values may be.
You've hit the nail on the head. And Musab's story shows us that this kind of life, a life of purpose and conviction, can lead to profound transformation, not just for ourselves, but for those around us and even for generations to come.
It's inspiring to think about how our actions can ripple outwards, creating positive change that extends far beyond our immediate circle.
And it's a reminder that even seemingly ordinary lives can be extraordinary when lived with intention and dedication to something greater than ourselves.
It's like the idea that we're all part of a larger tapestry, and the threads of our lives are interwoven with the lives of those around us. Our choices, our actions, they contribute to the overall beauty and complexity of that tapestry.
Beautifully said. And it makes me think about the legacy Musab left behind. He didn't have vast riches or political power, but he had something far more enduring: the impact of his character, his actions, and his unwavering faith.
And that impact is still felt today, over 1,400 years later.
It's a reminder that true legacy isn't about what we accumulate in this world, but about the positive change we create, the lives we touch, and the inspiration we leave behind.
Musab's story encourages us to think about what we want to be remembered for, not just by those who know us personally, but by the wider world. What kind of mark do we want to leave on the tapestry of history?
It's a question worth pondering, isn't it? What will people say about us when we're gone? Will they remember our kindness, our courage, our commitment to something bigger than ourselves? Or will they remember something else entirely?
It's a sobering thought, but it's also empowering. We have the ability to choose the legacy we leave behind.
And it starts with the choices we make today. Every action, every word, every thought contributes to the tapestry of our lives and the legacy we'll eventually leave behind.
Thinking about Musab leading the prayers of Medina, his beautiful recitation of Quran, and the way he connected people to the message, it makes me wonder.
What about it?
Well, he was such a pivotal figure in those early days, but could he have ever imagined what Islam would become, the global community it would blossom into? Could he have envisioned the countless lives it would touch across centuries and continents?
It's hard to fathom, isn't it? To be there at the very beginning, laying the foundation for something so vast, so enduring.
It makes me think about the importance of perspective. Sometimes when we're caught up in the day-to-day struggles of life, it's hard to see the bigger picture, the long-term impact of our actions.
But stories like Musab's remind us that even small acts of courage, kindness, and conviction can have ripple effects that extend far beyond our immediate time and place.
And it makes me wonder, what would Musab say to us today? If he could see the world as it is now, what wisdom would he offer? What guidance would he provide?
Those are fascinating questions. Perhaps he would remind us of the importance of staying grounded in our values,
Right.
of not letting the allure of material possessions distract us from what truly matters: our relationships, our communities, and our connection to something greater than ourselves.
He might encourage us to find that same spirit of service and sacrifice that defined his life. Maybe he'd remind us that true fulfillment doesn't come from accumulating wealth, but from using our gifts and resources to make a positive impact on the world around us.
He might even challenge us to examine our own priorities, to ask ourselves,
Hmm.
what are we willing to give up for the sake of our beliefs? What sacrifices are we making to create a better future for ourselves and for generations to come?
It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind to focus on our own individual needs and desires, but Musab's story reminds us that we are all interconnected and our actions have ripple effects that extend far beyond our immediate circle.
He might urge us to look beyond our own personal comfort and to consider the needs of our communities, our societies, and the world as a whole. What can we do individually and collectively to address the challenges of our time? How can we contribute to building a more just, compassionate, and sustainable world?
These are questions that resonate deeply, especially in a world grappling with so much uncertainty and division.
And while we can't know for sure what Musab would say if he were here today, his life offers us a timeless blueprint for living a life of purpose, meaning, and impact.
He shows us that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the richness of our relationships, our commitment to our values, and our contributions to something greater than ourselves.
And that even in the face of adversity, loss, and sacrifice, we can find a deep and abiding sense of peace and fulfillment when we dedicate our lives to something that transcends our own individual needs and desires.
So as we conclude our deep dive into the life of Musab ibn Umair, I want to leave you with one final thought, something to carry with you as you navigate your own journey.
I'm all ears.
We've talked a lot about Musab's sacrifice, his willingness to give up everything for his faith. But what if instead of focusing on what he lost, we focus on what he gained?
I love that perspective shift. Tell me more.
He gained a sense of purpose, a community of believers, and a place in paradise according to Islamic belief. He traded the fleeting pleasures of this world for something he believed to be eternal, something infinitely more rewarding.
He reminds us that true investment isn't just about what we accumulate in this life, but about what we sow for the well-being of our souls and the betterment of the world around us.
So the question I'll leave you with is this. What are you willing to invest in, not just in this life, but for the sake of your eternal soul and the legacy you leave behind? What seeds of kindness, compassion, and courage will you plant today?
That's a powerful question, and one that I think Musab would wholeheartedly endorse. May his story inspire us all to live lives of purpose, conviction, and service, leaving behind a legacy that ripples outwards, touching countless lives for generations to come.
And with that, we'll leave you to your own deep dive into this extraordinary life and its enduring lessons. Until next time, keep diving deep. It's a question that sparks my curiosity, too. What wisdom might he offer us in navigating the complexities of our modern world? What would he say about our pursuit of wealth and status?
Right.
Would he see parallels between the challenges faced by those early Muslims and the challenges we face today?
Those are fascinating questions. Perhaps he would remind us of the importance of staying grounded in our values, of not letting the allure of material possessions distract us from what truly matters.
Yeah.
Our relationships, our communities, and our connection to something greater than ourselves.
He might encourage us to find that same spirit of service and sacrifice that defined his life. Maybe he'd remind us that true fulfillment doesn't come from accumulating wealth,
Right.
but from using our gifts and resources to make a positive impact on the world around us.
He might even challenge us to examine our own priorities, to ask ourselves, what are we willing to give up for the sake of our beliefs? What sacrifices are we making to create a better future for ourselves and for generations to come?
It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind to focus on our own individual needs and desires. But Musab's story reminds us that we are all interconnected, and our actions have ripple effects that extend far beyond our immediate circle.
He might urge us to look beyond our own personal comfort and to consider the needs of our communities, our societies, and the world as a whole. What can we do individually and collectively to address the challenges of our time? How can we contribute to building a more just, compassionate, and sustainable world?
These are questions that resonate deeply, especially in a world grappling with so much uncertainty and division.
And while we can't know for sure what Musab would say if he were here today, his life offers us a timeless blueprint for living a life of purpose, meaning, and impact.
He shows us that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the richness of our relationships, our commitment to our values, and our contributions to something greater than ourselves.
And that even in the face of adversity, loss, and sacrifice, we can find a deep and abiding sense of peace and fulfillment when we dedicate our lives to something that transcends our own individual needs and desires.
So as we conclude our deep dive into the life of Musab ibn Umair, I want to leave you with one final thought, something to carry with you as you navigate your own journey.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about Musab's sacrifice, his willingness to give up everything for his faith. But what if, instead of focusing on what he lost, we focus on what he gained?
I love that perspective shift. Tell me more.
He gained a sense of purpose, a community of believers, and a place in paradise according to Islamic belief. He traded the fleeting pleasures of this world for something he believed to be eternal, something infinitely more rewarding.
He reminds us that true investment isn't just about what we accumulate in this life, but about what we sow for the well-being of our souls and the betterment of the world around us.
So the question I'll leave you with is this. What are you willing to invest in, not just in this life, but for the sake of your eternal soul and the legacy you leave behind? What seeds of kindness, compassion, and courage will you plant today?
That's a powerful question and one that I think Musab would wholeheartedly endorse. May his story inspire us all to live lives of purpose, conviction, and service, leaving behind a legacy that ripples outwards, touching countless lives for generations to come.
And with that, we'll leave you to your own deep dive into this extraordinary life and its enduring lessons. Until next time, keep diving deep.